Hi everyone, it's John here with Bill Belew of his forum, and really we wanted to kind of share some different things, and I'm going to just basically dive in right now into a presentation I made, and let's see here, bring this up here. Okay, so what I'm calling this is how to get back your time in 1250 or 1250 minutes in less than an hour. So I'm gonna basically bring up my screen here and maximize that a bit. So if you watch the animation right now, stuff, like it's basically I showed like kind of how you can get back, that amount of time with just a relatively small investment and stuff. Um, So here's some of the good news, bad news of this. The good news is that, as Woody Allen says, 80% of the success is showing up. So just the fact that you're here watching and stuff is a testament of the fact that, like, you're committed to kind of getting back some of your time and making things happen and stuff. But here's the bad news that, well, let's talk a little bit about if you know this gentleman's stuff. He, of course, is Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook. And one of the things that happened 9 years ago was that he invited 5 people to his dorm room, and 2 people showed up and stuff. So coincidentally, those 2 people are now billionaires. And I'm not going to basically, have some get rich opportunity at the end of this and all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to invite you to just basically look at what it is at different times that people that succeed do differently from the rest of us and stuff. And that was, again, the idea of what the presentation was about, the original animation. And the things we do differently, I'd say, that is to leverage their time. And the thing is, though, that like here's also, like I said, the bad news is that like 80% of you are going to watch this and never take action. And that's the thing that like I've found over and over again. So at the end of this, I'm going to basically present a decision for you. Like, we're going to talk about some different things here. And at the end of this, we're going to basically say, okay, now, you essentially you can take the blue pill, which is basically going back to things as they were and stuff like that, or the red pill, which to me is basically making the decision that you're ready to do something different and stuff. And like I said, I'm going to talk about that at the end of this. It's, again, we're not, selling any training or, basically any kind of opportunity and all that kind of stuff. So as I said, like, I know that like a lot of people are just not going to take another look or take action on this and stuff. Because here's the thing, the stuff I'm presenting, you already know the stuff, or, there's that dangerous word should. I'm not going to basically present anything that's like, revolutionary like that. And here's the other part about it is that, like, I've been in your shoes. I've definitely known different times when like there's different things that like is presented to me, and I was either skeptical or that like I thought my situation is different. Like, this person doesn't understand my situation stuff. But the reality is that like I definitely do know where you are, and that like you have tried different things. You've been wanting to kind of really make a difference and stuff like that, but something's been keeping you from doing it. Here's one more idea that I want to kind of just plant the seed. In 1994, I bought a place in San Diego for $160,000, and in 2004, it was worth $480,000. Now you might say, like, okay, what is this, a course in real estate and stuff? The reason why I'm presenting this is because here's the thing that happened. If I had been sitting there basically, putting money into the house and stuff like that, okay, it's understandable, like I bought it for 160, but here's the thing, I didn't actually spend 160,000 out of my pocket and stuff. What I did was, after the first, 18 months or so, where like I was on deployment and basically all over the place and stuff like that, In fact, my brother spent more time in that house than I did. What happened was after that, I rented it out. So my tenants essentially paid for my mortgage. And why is this significant and stuff? Because here's the thing that happened was I was at that time, as a junior officer, struggling to just basically, I was actually going through a divorce and all that kind of stuff. I was actually struggling to make ends meet. But out of pocket, I ended up paying about $200-300 a month, for about the rest of the time after that, 18 months or so. And in other words, I didn't, spend nearly 160,000 to keep that investment going. Basically, because of leverage and everything, I ended up spending maybe at the most, I think I calculated about $20,000, like over the course of the 10 years and everything like that. And it was about $200, like a month out of pocket for initially, until like it was about maybe 7 years into it or something like that, where then, I didn't even pay anything out of pocket. In fact, in all reality, at the end of the year, I'd get back in taxes much more than I ever put in. So the bottom line with what I'm saying with all this is that, like, the power of leverage of basically these small changes and stuff, and which is what, like kind of the idea of the butterfly effect is really powerful when you look for these kind of places where you can, by doing something small and stuff like that, that maybe, you're wondering, like, is it worth the effort or anything like that. I can definitely tell you, just from personal experience of a lot of things like this, when you make these tiny changes and everything, it makes all the difference. So here, like as I promised, I'm gonna basically get into a demo now of what it is that I've done recently. So here, like, I want to show you, and you're probably gonna wonder what this list is and stuff, right? This here is basically a bunch of recipes, all right, that what happens is as I connect to this SaaS, the software, service stuff called IFTTT. Now, if you've heard of it, like I said, this is nothing new. You've probably heard of it. You may even be using it, stuff like that. But here's the thing, though. By using these recipes and stuff in an organized way and everything, I'm going to show you now just basically what can happen. So here I have a blog post that's queued up and ready to go. Now, how long would it normally take you to basically post different social media sites to Bill, like, I know you don't really use social media and stuff, but like if you did, like if let's say you wanted to post to like the different sites that you did distribute your stuff, how long would it take, would you say?
That's why I don't do it, because it takes too long.
Right. That's the thing, right? It takes too long. But here's the thing, right? Because I have these recipe setups and everything like that, and I use a word that basically, for my word that I use, this tag is creative. That's the kind of the magic word, if you will, and stuff. Here's what happens. All right, right now, I'm doing this right now as we talk. Just by hitting publish, and because of these recipes, guess what happens now? Right now, just as soon as we talk, let me switch over here. Now, all of a sudden, it's on my Twitter. Switch over to Twitter here. Right there it is with the graphic and everything. It's now on Facebook. Something that takes, at least 5 or so minutes of stuff, but because of setting it up automatically, it's now distributed to all these different places. Something that, like I said, takes minutes maybe, but probably more. It'll probably take a while. But just with one click of that button stuff, that's distributed to all these different places, just all at once, which also in itself has a lot of effect, like just basically having, by compounding that, by, like I said, sending it all to these different, different sites all at once. So that's really what I wanted to kind of, show was, like I said, really quick demo of what it is to kind of do that and stuff. Let me switch here. And here's the thing, all right, go back a second here. So back in like last year, like around July, August, I started kind of like putzing around, started getting a little bit more serious with using Twitter and stuff like that. And then I started kind of recognizing, like maybe what if I started kind of writing more regularly, what would happen and stuff. So next thing I know, I started getting more impressions. I started basically, which is again, like that makes sense, right? The more you kind of, put out content and stuff, the more, people will start seeing your stuff. Well, here's the thing that I started doing was, well, what if I started automating that and stuff? What would happen? So in just a few months after that, I went from 3,000 to 34,000 impressions. And this is, of course, just basically brute force method. Brute force method. I'm not like doing anything like kind of special in terms of like, I'm creating good content and stuff, but I'm not like doing something that's like really, like super viral, whatever kind of things like that. This is again, this is another formula that I use, in this other application stuff like that. But basically, that's what I wanted to show was like just by leveraging these little things and stuff like that, we can make a huge difference of what we can do. So now I'm gonna switch over. Like Bill, when we talked a while back about doing like outsourcing stuff, what did you kind of find was like kind of that in terms of the time that you were able to basically start getting back?
I'm sorry, I'm not quite grasping the question.
Oh, sure. Like, so when a while back, you and I talked about like kind of getting a virtual assistant and starting to use them, stuff like that. So when you started to do that, what did you start kind of finding for yourself?
Well, I call it mousy work, little tiny stuff. I
Right.
had so many mousy things to do that I couldn't get anything done. I didn't even get the mousy stuff done because I didn't want to do that either. I'm just not a tiny detail person. I mean, I can do it. I force myself to do it because if I don't do it, nobody will. And then finally, I just gave up on the prospect and bit the bullet and went out and hired a virtual assistant.
And that's the thing, right? Like it's just along the lines of what I was saying was like, those little bits and minutes of things just really accumulate, and then over time, that was the point of my animation. It's like it really adds up, and like I would say that like maybe sometimes it's so gradual that we don't see the effect. But here's the thing though, like have you found that like you've been able to get more stuff done though? Like I mean that's the thing that like it's like ultimately did you start seeing like kind of that like wow, where did this time come from that like you were able to get? I mean, sure, you're always still busy and stuff, but in terms of what you have been able to achieve and like kind of like the things you've been able to kind of the big rocks you've been able to get to and stuff, have you found you've been able to get to more those bigger things you've been wanting to do?
Well, absolutely. My assistant, the biggest challenge with getting an assistant was finding the time to get the assistant. Because
Right.
you're too busy doing stuff to go find someone to help you do stuff, right? And so I just
Yeah.
decided for about a week or so I wasn't going to sleep until I found this right person. So I've used Craigslist, I've used like everybody else, you try Odesk, whatever, anything, and by the time you've trained somebody, they leave, and so you get you get this endless
Mm.
cycle of getting good people, fair people, making them good people, and then they fall off their bicycle or somebody dies or working for me is the most dangerous job in the world because people's parents die. I don't know what's the
Right.
world here, but I ended up, like I said, I really didn't want to spend the money. It's not whether I could or not. The simple truth is that I didn't want to argue with my wife about spending money for something that didn't have an immediate result.
Mm.
Now, I love my wife. She loves me, I think, but I just didn't want that hassle. Say, listen, honey, I'm going to spend some more money. I'm going to hire some person. What's she going to do? And how are we going to get that money back? I didn't want to have that conversation.
Right.
So I did it anyway. I just, and I figured I'll just go do it, and then I'll have the fight, for lack of a better word. And I'm trying to be a little bit transparent here and a little bit rough, maybe. It's not my wife and I didn't fight and argue, but we're we're mom and pop, we're family here. If
Mm.
anything I have to do, we got to pass it through the boss, and that was just, that's hard to do sometimes.
Mm.
Yeah, but I did it anyway, and so when I'm paying my assistant, I had to pay somebody. I wanted to pay somebody to find me the right person. So there's money that I was never going to see, I thought. And so, well, but I did it anyway. And now I've got me an assistant, and she's absolutely golden. She works for me 40 hours a week, if not more. And she
Wow.
just, I just throw everything I don't want to do at her. Well, that didn't work until I showed her how to do it,
Mm.
right? But now I'm at the point where I can just, I guess I can do something. I can give you a very, very practical example. Meetup. I run these meetups,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to post a new meetup. I can write the meetup. It takes me, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes to create the content and put it on the meetup. Well, I happen to have 20 different meetup groups.
Right.
And so I have to create one, and then I have to physically, virtually tell a keyboardy, I have to cut and paste that 20 times.
Right.
All right, so what? It takes you a minute. No, it doesn't take me a minute. It probably takes me 2 minutes. All right, well, so what? 2 minutes times 20 is 40 minutes. It takes me 40 minutes to do that, and that's the phone rings. And then I get lost. I have to go back, and
Right.
then if I
That's
do
the
that's
worst.
40 minutes, and if I do that 4 times a month, that's 160 minutes. That's 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
So it took me an hour to teach her how to do that. I had to get on the Skype, and I had to spend the time, and I had to slow down. I love her, but her English is not her first language, and so we just have to deal with that. And so it took me an hour, maybe 2 hours, to teach her how to do that. But she saves me 4 hours a week. I mean, 4 hours a month.
Mm.
So that one time 2 hours special, and she's been with me for about 8 months. So 8 times 4 is 32. I spent 2 hours teaching her to do something that saved me 32 hours.
That's pretty good ROI to me.
Right. So it's a great ROI on time, but there's still the money factor. You still have to come up with the money somehow.
Right. Right.
So if I can't pay her 3 or 4 or 500 bucks a month or whatever it is, where's that money going to come from? Well, so I taught her how to automate Twitter for me. I mean, you can automate most of Twitter. By the way, I use IFTTT. I set up a
It's
bunch of
great,
them.
right?
I probably killed the thing, because if you over automate things, then you've got too much going on.
Right, right. You can definitely have conflicts and like things that like kind of, like this recipe triggers that one and that one triggers, and then,
Well,
yeah.
you send it to Facebook, and I have Facebook automatically send it to Twitter, and Twitter automatically sends it to LinkedIn. LinkedIn sends it back to automatically to Twitter. Then I have to go back and figure that out, and I just haven't figured that out yet. But so I taught her how to do most of the. There's some parts of Twitter cannot be automated. You have to manually
Right.
actively recruit real people. Otherwise, you're going to spam the thing and it'll break.
Yeah.
And so I taught her how to do that for me. But then, all the direct messaging and everything else, I taught her how to set that up. So she, that would take me an hour a day to do that. When I taught her how to do it, it took me an hour to teach her to do that. Now she spends an hour a day. So I spend 1 hour, and she'll spend 20 hours a month working on my Twitter account. Right, but we still have to get money out of this sooner or later. Well, don't you know, somebody from the Twitter, because of what she was doing, said we got set up to where people who follow me on Twitter get messaged about the forum. Somebody on the Twitter account joined my forum. This forum person signed up for my mastermind course that we're going for a year. For I don't mind saying it cost us $5,000 to spend a year with me. So we made $5,000 off of her efforts. I got all my money back for her for the year.
Awesome.
And that's an isolated case. There's much more stuff that she's done for me.
Right.
And so, I had to pony up the money, and most people think, well, I can't pony up the money. Well, and they probably can't. I don't have the money to pony up. Well, I'm sorry, I can't help you there. But the truth of the matter is, there's always a point in every endeavor where if you don't put more into it, you're never going to get any more out of it. You're just going to bog down.
Right.
You just have to take the risk. And the people who are risk adverse will never be able to do it.
Right. And that's the thing though. It's like risk is one part about it, but also, like unless you look at it as an investment, it's in other words, like the difference between entrepreneurs and employees is that entrepreneurs see things as investments, They see the opportunities of what can happen and stuff. Employees think only in terms of costs, and like, oh, this is going to cost me, like $100 or $1,000 or whatever and stuff. It kind of doesn't matter, like kind of, because it's always to them just something that they feel like they're spending versus, an entrepreneur sees like this is something that like I'm investing and that way I'm looking to get return on it. Like what's ultimately going to be my return on my time or my return on my investment of money and stuff.
Well, see, everybody wants to spend $500 and make 1,000, and it doesn't work that way. So I had somebody get on with me yesterday, and he knows that I have a pretty good reach, a little bit of influence. He says, can you help me out here? I'll spend a couple $100 and then I hope next month I can make $1,000. Well, if I could spend $200 this month to make $1,000 next month, I'd do that forever. and I see more and more cases. So I decided I'm going to end up paying my admin. I'm going to pay her $500 a month. It'll probably take me a year before I get my money back. Well, I got it back much faster and then some. And so I got my money back already and then some. But because she was able to do those things, I could do other things.
Yeah.
Right. I could follow up on some personal emails. I could reach out to some people who have contacts in Shanghai, for example. I've been to Shanghai twice this year. I'm going back next month. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have Stella working for me.
Yeah. That's the other part about it is just simply, like you said, freeing up the time and not just in the sense of like kind of, like we've said about the different things that kind of add up and stuff, but also, anytime you have to drop what you're doing and stuff, like just for those few minutes and everything, then it takes at least, 15, 20 minutes to kind of spool back up to the pace that you were doing. So that, in other words, that's even more time that's lost unless, you had somebody who like help you take care of those different items that like, just you had to kind of jump back and forth from and stuff.
Right. Well, so that's exactly the point. So the argument then, by extension, is well, if you could get one person to make money for you by doing this, why don't you get 10 people? Well, then that doesn't work that way either. There's a point of overkill. You seriously have to evaluate just how much work you have that you could legitimately pass on to other people.
Right.
And so you find that, well, about a week ago, I hired a guy. I've been dying to, redesign my website, to rebrand myself in a different way. I just haven't had the time to do that, and now I do. Because Stella is doing this work, and she's helping me make money where I wouldn't have. Now I got this money to play with. I can hire him to do that. So I just took on another person. I would have muscled my way through this redesign of my website.
Right.
Because like you do, I'm a brute. I just muscle my way through it. It'd have been adequate. It'd have got the job done, but it wouldn't be what I wanted. So instead, I decided I'm going to hire the person to do it, and should probably be working on it as we speak. He's probably breaking something, but you have to break something before you can fix it. But as a result, all of a sudden out of nowhere, I like this is how it works. People email you. I have a good search presence. Now there's an organization in Sacramento wants me to create videos for them.
Oh, right, yeah.
And talk about how to build influence. Well, there was no way in the world I could do that, or even learn how to do that because I just didn't have the bandwidth to do that.
Right.
And now I do. And so I can let me grab my thing here. I don't know if you can see this. See the umbrella light back there?
Yeah, simple lighting kit. Yeah.
There's another umbrella light there. And another umbrella light up there. So nice. These guys, they sent me these umbrella lights.
Oh, they sent them to you.
I packed them up. They mailed them to me and said, now, this. And so I've been going back and forth trying. It's really hard to get the lighting right. But I never would have had a moment to do that. Until I reached out and bit the bullet, took a bit of a risk, trained somebody how to do something that I was doing. I did this in Japan. My general philosophy was I would never do anything if I could get somebody else to do it. And I would only do those things that nobody else could. If there was a phone call that nobody could make, I would make it. If there was somebody that had to be talked to and nobody really felt they could do it, I would do it. But everything else that had to be done that I could get someone else, so I just kept farming that out. I had a staff there. It was easier. I didn't have it in the beginning, of course. You know, nobody has that kind of staff in the beginning, but you double up until you can afford it. You save up until you can hire somebody, or you just take a risk and hope you get your money back quick enough. But your idea is rock solid. You know, find somebody that you can give the work to, and as much as possible, give away anything that you can give somebody else to do. Give it to them, so that you can do what nobody else can do.
Definitely, and that's the other part about all this too. Is you know, like kind of it's a lot of times it's also about understanding these different ideas and finding people who have done it, and like basically, you know, like in other words, it's I think sometimes the problem is the kind of like here's the thing that like I found like even when I was in like college and stuff was, you know, like one person would like run like, you know, hit their 250 on their PFT, their physical fitness test and stuff like that, and then next thing you know, we would thought, you know, like maybe I can do that too and stuff. So that's the other part about it, is finding other people who have done what it is that you want to do and connecting with them. I mean, we again, that was what I was saying earlier in the presentation. This is not stuff that like, you know, like no one has told us or we didn't know and stuff like that. But the thing is though, like finding the people that you can connect with to kind of make this happen stuff, that's definitely key. So I really, you know, I know, you know, you and Snell have been kind of really launching your group and stuff like that. And then my concept is like similar, but just slightly different and stuff. So what I'm inviting people to do is just basically contact me directly, and I'm going to provide, of course, the, you know, the links and all that and stuff. You know, they're welcome to contact you as well and everything. You know, and different.
Talk to you. You're doing all the hard work here. Talk to you.
And different times, you know, like to me, like, you know, that's the other part about all this too, is that like, you know, the whole idea behind this is that I just wanted to kind of provide this information and share like kind of some of my own experiences and stuff. And then also, you know, because I know that like, you know, you and I talked about the idea of getting virtual assistant stuff. It was really cool to see you take action on that and then to make that happen. And so to me, part of that, I think, was just simply what I said earlier also. It's like you took action. You didn't like kind of like just keep thinking about it. Someday, you know, like someday I'll do it, whatever. You did it. And so that's the other thing that like I'm constantly, you know, like kind of looking to do. So in other words, it's not just simply about providing this great information or like kind of, you know, like, you know, motivation and stuff like that. It's about, you know, ultimately it's going to be in the court of the person who's like watching this or listening to, you know, what we've saying, stuff like that, and to take action. I mean, that's the thing that like, you know, we can give the best advice, and that's the one thing that, you know, none of us can replace, is simply for them to choose to act on it.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to leave here in a moment, but
no,
about a month in, I mean, after I hired my virtual assistant, and 10 days after I hired her, you know, I spent the first 2 days training her and all that. And 10 days after I hired her, I created a thread in the forum, tangible proof of a virtual assistant's value. And in 10 days, I have 17 ways that I can measure her effectiveness. In just 10 days, she posted 20 blog sites for me. She posted eight of my blogs. She posted 8 posts on LinkedIn. I got 1,783 eyeballs on my LinkedIn articles. I got 207 thumbs up on my articles. I got 12 new followers. I got a 24% increase in traffic, 29 blah, 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 blah. I got tangible proof that because she came on board, now I can see this difference.
Right.
And then, I mean, I want everybody to come look at the forum, but there's tangible reasons, and I put that on there. So I got 65 new speaking opportunities because there are 80 new members in the forum because of her.
Nice.
And so on and so on. All
Awesome.
right, John, thanks again for the conversation.
Yeah, no, thanks, Bill. I really appreciate you coming by, and really that was the point of what I want to do, just basically let folks know like some of these things that are possible and stuff. So really appreciate you validating just really what, you know, I've been talking about. So
all
thanks
right,
again, Bill.
have a good day.
Okay, you too.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.